Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Now today I was a little bit unsure on what to do for you guys, so what I did was a little bit of research into the first ever English football second division, and it was formed in the 1892-1893 season, or that was when the first season was, and so I thought we'd go back to then and we'll go through the 12 teams that were in it and we'll see where they are now and see which divisions they are in going into next season, and yeah, we'll see whether they've progressed or whether they have declined in the past 100 or so years. And so starting off with a team known as Small Heath, they're just a few miles up the road for me, and they're now known as Birmingham City Football Club. They finished in first place, and in the 1892-1893 season, they weren't promoted, but they did finish first. But they had to play 2 test matches against Newton Heath, also known as Manchester United today, who finished at the bottom of the table in the first division of English football. And so what happened was, if Small Heath won, then they'd be promoted up into the first division, and then if Newton Heath lost, they would have been relegated down into the second division. They drew 1-1 in the first fixture, but then Small Heath lost 5-2 away from home, meaning that Newton Heath, Manchester United, stayed in the division, and Small Heath also stayed in the second division for another season at least. And so the next team, the second place team in the 1892-1893 season, was Sheffield United. And in this season, Sheffield United won 16 games, drew 3 and lost 3. And in this season as well, Sheffield United were promoted after beating Accrington Stanley 1-0 in their test match. And in the Championship last season, Sheffield United finished 5th. They went into the playoffs but lost over 2 legs against Nottingham Forest. And so the next team is one which may be unknown by quite a few of you. It's a team called Darwin. They finished 3rd during the 1892-1893 season. I mean, they were founded in 1870. They're based in Lancashire. And in the 1880-81 season, they actually reached the semi-final of the FA Cup. And they were part of the Football League from 1891 to 1899. But on May the 14th, 2009, Darwin FC was liquidated. They're now known as AFC Darwin, and in the 2021-2022 season they finished 17th out of 19 teams in the Division 1 North section of the North West Counties Football League. And so they have dropped down quite a bit, but they have been liquidated and they have formed to make AFC Darwin, so you'd expect them to be quite low down in the football pyramid. And so in 4th place was Grimsby Town. Well, they're based in North East Lincolnshire, and in the 1892-1893 season they finished 4th place. During the 2021-2022 season, Grimsby finished 6th in the National League after being relegated from League 2 the season before. And they went into the playoffs in the National League, where they won 2-1 against Notts County, and then they went over to Wrexham, where they played a thrilling 5-4 win against the Welsh side, and then they had to beat Solihull Moors in the final to go back into League 2, where they were 1-0 down at half-time, but they managed to win 2-1 after extra time. And in the 2022-2023 season, they will compete in EFL League 2. And so in 5th place was a team called Arwick Fc. Some of you may have heard of it, others may not have. Today they're known as Manchester City. And during the 1892-93 season they picked up 21 points. They won 9 games, drew 3 and lost 10. And I know that the point system wouldn't have matched up in today's points. I'm not too sure what the points were for the seasons back then, but they would have been different, because otherwise it would have been 30 points for Arwick FC if they were doing the current point system. But Ardwick Manchester City. During the 2021-2022 season, they finished first in the Premier League, where they beat Aston Villa 3-2 after being 2-0 down, and it looking like Liverpool winning the title as they beat Wolves 3-1. But then Manchester City managed to do that turnaround where, you know, within the space of 5 minutes, was it? They managed to go from 2-0 down to win 3-2, which meant that Manchester City would win the Premier League. But Arwick Fc, back in the 1892-93 season, probably not the best side, but now they are one of the best teams in the world with one of the best managers in the world, and they have certainly improved since the 92-93 season in the 1800s. And so now a team known as Burton Swifts FC. In the 1892-1893 season, they finished 6th place, and they were founded in 1871, but 30 years later, in 1901, they dissolved and merged to form Burton United FC. But then 9 years later, they dissolved to form Burton All Saints, which would then become known as Burton Town Football Club. And then after the Second World War, Burton Town then followed the pattern and merged into Burton Albion. So quite a few name changes there. But during the 2021-2022 season, Burton Albion finished 16th in League One. So they've dropped down by one division, technically. And so, yeah, to be honest, I think Burton, they are a team where going into a League One season, you're not too sure on. I think mid-table is usually the place for Burton. They were in the Championship a few seasons ago, but since then they've just slipped down a little bit. And then in 7th place in the 1892-1893 season was a team known as Northwich Victoria, and they're based in Northwich, which is in Cheshire. And currently the team plays in the 9th tier of English football, which is known as the North West Counties League Premier Division. And not much really to talk about with this one because there's not a lot of information about them. But during 2021-2022 season, they finished 5th out of 21 teams. And so the team that finished in 8th place during the 1892-1893 season is a team known as Bootle. They were formed in 1879, but just after the season ended in the 1892-1893 season, the club dissolved. And they weren't seen again until 1953, where Bootle FC was founded, and now they are based in Merseyside. And during the 2021-2022 season, they finished 7th out of 20 teams in the Northern Premier League Division 1 West. And so now going back to teams which we may have heard of as Lincoln City. They finished 9th in the 1892-1893 season. And in this season they won 7 games, drew 3 and lost 12. And during the 2021-2022 season they finished 17th in League One. But the season before that they actually got into the League One playoffs where they finished 5th, and they beat Sunderland over 2 legs to go to Wembley, where unfortunately for them they lost 2-1 to Blackpool. But in the 2022-2023 season they will continue playing into League One, where they'll try and push on to try and maybe get a top half finish this time. And so another team which is quite familiar to the football leagues is Crewe Alexandra. During the 1892-93 season they finished 10th, but during last season Crewe got relegated from League 1 down to League 2, finishing 24th out of 24 teams, and they will compete in League 2 next season. And so now to a team known as Burslem Port Vale. During the 1892-93 season the team finished 11th place, but they would go on to have 13 more seasons in the 2nd division of English football, and they would later be known as Port Vale. During the 21-22 season, Port Vale finished 5th in League 2, where they'd be able to go into the playoffs, where they did manage to get promoted, and in the final they won 3-0 against Mansfield at Wembley. And so now to a team who in the 1892-93 season were known as Walsall Town Swifts. They finished 12th place, which was the bottom of the league, and they were founded in 1888. And they got their name from Walsall Town FC and Walsall Swifts FC, which was amalgamated to form Walsall Town Swifts. And in 1896, the club changed their name to Walsall FC, and since then they have kept that name. During the 2021-2022 season, Walsall finished in League 2 in 16th place out of 24 teams. And although that might not sound too good, things may be looking up for Walsall under the manager Michael Flynn, who was appointed in February 2020. Because since his appointment, out of 16 games, they've only lost 6 matches. And they beat teams like Forest Green and Port Vale, who would go on to be promoted to League One that season. And so there we go. That was all of the teams from the 1892-93 season. And just seeing where they were now, some of them have gone on to do better than what they did in the 1892-93 season, and some of them have slipped down a little bit, either being dissolved or liquidated and forming new clubs. But for now, that is it from me. Next week, we're back to the football match day vlogs. We'll go to Burton Albion to watch Burton vs Blues. Hopefully we can get a win in that one. But until then, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Keep right on, everyone.